I'm Jordan Banderas, also known as the Bad Influence, and I'm so excited to have you here listening to another episode of the Bad Influence podcast. Today, I got a question for you straight out of the gate. And that question is, what happened with the old way of thinking where we could just agree to disagree? Like, seriously, what happened with that? Where did that go? Who killed it? Who decided to get rid of that? Because I have seen so many people get in arguments and physical fights just because of a simple disagreement. Like, probably you have seen it too. So, one of the things that I did to get an answer to this question, I asked my wife about this question. I came up to her and I asked her, and her answer was very simple. She told me that I like to overthink everything, and I also like to people watch. And you know what? She's right. I like to do both things. But because I like to do both things, I came up with another question. And I asked her, have you noticed how we can't really disagree with other people these days without becoming their enemy? And I'm going to ask you that same question too, because it seems like nowadays, if you don't agree with someone, you automatically become their enemy. It doesn't matter what it is. If you disagree for the most ridiculous things, for some reason they label you as their enemy. I have seen it happen. And it's not just in politics though, which is pretty much where I see this all the time, but it's also happening everywhere from where I have seen. It's happening all around us in schools, marriages, friendships, work, you name it. It's everywhere we interact with other people. And honestly, I think that's a major issue right now. Because if we can accept that others have a different opinion than us at any point in our lives, how will we ever learn from other people's perspectives? I know I have a lot of questions, and that's why I'm asking them on the podcast, because I would like to hear your answers about this. I like to learn from others, so I want to see your opinion about this. I want to see what you think about everything that's going on right now, pretty much everywhere. Just everywhere. Everyone is disagreeing. But here's the thing, though. I think the reason we act this way is because we don't want to be seen like we don't know what other people are talking about. We want to look and sound smart. So when we get pushback, guess what happens? We get mad. We start to get agitated, we get angry, and then everything escalates. But the most important thing that I have learned in my life, and I just learned this a few years ago actually, is that agreeing to disagree is super important, because it means that we understand that not everyone will think the same way as us. And that's totally okay. Even though there are groups of people out there that say that if someone doesn't agree with you, they're your enemy or anything like that, that's not the case. Because not everyone will see things the way you do. Not everyone will see things the way I do. The way that I see it is like, this is like art. Life is like art. They say that when you go see the Mona Lisa, if you stand straight, you're going to see it kind of smiling. If you move to the side and see it from a different angle, the expression in her face changes to like almost like sad. The same thing happens with life. Everyone has a different opinion depending on how you're looking at it from your point of view. So not everyone is going to agree to that, to what you're seeing. And that's very important to remember, because we all have different backgrounds. We all have different experiences and perspectives and stories, which is what makes us unique. So your point of view, it's unique. My point of view is unique. And by me disagreeing with you, that doesn't make me your enemy. It just means that I'm seeing things from a completely different perspective, and I'm just processing it a different way than you do. And that is totally fine. I want to literally reiterate this. It's totally fine to have different opinions. Because when you agree to disagree, it doesn't mean that someone's right or wrong. It just means that we are seeing things differently. We may need more information in regards to what's happening, or we may have too much information. So we're over processing everything that's happening. And there's nothing wrong with that. So the other day, here's what happened with me in regards to agree to disagree. The other day, I disagree at work with one of the production managers for the night shift. He wanted me to overlook the fact that the expiration date was wrong on the product. Now, we had made this particular issue before, so the client was like, you guys need to pay fucking attention to this, because we don't want to have a recall. We work with candy and everything, so there could be a major recall. So I was like, okay, I gotta do my work. I gotta be extra careful. My boss is like, you gotta pay attention to this. So I did. And what happened is that this particular supervisor was like, you know what? The expiration date doesn't matter. All of this shit. We need to get the numbers right. We need to literally get the production numbers up and whatever. Like, all they cared about was their numbers and them making themselves look good. So this particular supervisor was pretty stubborn and refused to budge. He was like, no, everything is good, even though the expiration date was wrong. And then at one point he started claiming that I was trying to make him look bad. He was all like, you're trying to make me look bad. But I told him straight up, I was like, you know what? I don't care about looking good or bad. All I care about is the product matching the client's specifications. That's what I care about. I don't care about you. I don't care if you want to do something, as long as it doesn't cause us rework. That's pretty much all I care about. They pay me to do this, So this supervisor got pretty heated. He straight up yelled at me and said, why can't you just see things the way I do? Why can't you just agree with me? Like, he got mad. Like, he was that mad. He acted like he wanted to fight me. I was like, you know what? If you want to fight, let's go. My hands work. But then I was thinking about it. I got calm and everything. I kind of like cooled down. It's not worth it to fight for something like this. It is not. I'm not willing to lose my job for something that's stupid, especially when I need the health insurance for my wife. Like, I wasn't going to do that. So I calmly told him that we could keep disagreeing all night long if he wanted. But at the end of the day, I will have to document why the expiration date was incorrect on the work order. So my bosses, his bosses, and even the client will see why everything was incorrect again. And you know what happened? After I said that, he totally changed his mind. He changed his tune. He literally turned it down a few notches. He was like, you know what? You are right. And I was like, see? Like, I know I was right. Let's go ahead and get this right and get the work done and get this candy out of here. Because it doesn't matter what you think. What matters is what the client wants. Because if we can get this right and we send it to the client likes it, we're going to get more work, which is better for us. But after all this disagreement that happened, my supervisor called me the next day into her office and asked me what had happened. She was like, Jordan, what happened last night? I told her everything. I was like, you know what? This is what happened. And get this, though. This is what's funny. Because the night supervisor literally filed a complaint against me because he thought I was being too picky with my work. He said that I was being over picky. Like, he's like, oh, he's just nitpicking everything. He wants perfection and everything. And I said to my supervisor, like, that's not true. This is what happened. And she has had her own issues with this supervisor, so she knows how he is, so she understands. But she just wanted me to know what he did, like he filed this complaint against me, and obviously they investigated, they talked to other people, and they're like, yeah, Jordan's right. This supervisor is just acting up again, But here's the thing, after this happened, the supervisor and I don't really see eye to eye anymore, which, in my opinion, it hurts the company and its employees because he refuses to accept that he is wrong every time. Like, he is never wrong. You cannot disagree with this guy. Like, literally, you cannot disagree with him, or, like in my case, he gets mad and he gets heated. So when all this drama was said and done at work, I couldn't stop thinking about this issue. I couldn't stop thinking about why he wouldn't accept that he was wrong. Why he was so mad that I wouldn't agree with him when he was literally wrong. So I spoke to my wife. She's my go-to person when I have questions or doubts or anything like that. I spoke to some of my friends, and I even checked social media to see what people were saying about disagreements and fighting for situations like this in this case. And you know what I found? And I think this is very important to talk about on today's episode, because I found that it's way too easy to only surround ourselves with people who share the same beliefs and ideas as you. With social media and the internet, now you can create these groups or find these websites or whatever where all you hear, read, and see is people agreeing with the same points of view or that you have in life. They agree with everything that you say. They agree with everything that you do. You agree with everything they say and everything like that. But that's a big problem right now, because let's be real. When you only surround yourself with people that agree with you, that's not always the best way to learn and grow, because you're not able to think outside the box, literally. You're just thinking in a way where everyone will agree with what you're thinking or doing or saying. And that's not good, because there are so many things that are happening outside that box that you may not agree with. But if you don't actually go out there and look outside the box, you're not going to be able to learn new things. And when you get the pushback, then you're going to get mad. Then you're going to get angry, and then so many things could happen. And here's another thing that I believe is very important with this, is that the problem with surrounding with people that only care about themselves and they only agree with you so you don't kick them out of the group, or you only agree with them so they don't kick you out of the group, and pretty much you're just agreeing with them just for whatever reason, is that it can create an us versus them mentality. And when someone doesn't see things the way we do, we can start viewing them as the enemy. In the case of this supervisor, the one that I was talking about, he always surrounds himself with people that tell him that he's good at his job. So pretty much these people are kissing his ass. They're always like, oh, you're so good, this, whatever, like, oh, you're so great. That's pretty much what they tell him all day long, all shift long. But when you do that, and you get some kind of pushback, kind of like what I did with him, it can cause unnecessary conflict and can even escalate into violence. I have seen this happening so many times in the last few years, and probably you have seen it too. It was all over social media at one point. There were so many videos about that. Probably you have read it online, how families got in huge fights because of disagreements. And obviously we see it on politics. Sometimes you even disagree like that on your own relationship, which I'm sure it has caused a lot of divorces or a lot of unnecessary drama in a relationship. So due to this, I think that we must learn to find common ground with everyone, not just strangers. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes it's going to be very, like, I don't know, like aggravating to try to find that common ground because the other person may not understand where you're coming from, which is totally fine. You just have to be calm. You just have to, address the situation and understand that that other person doesn't see things the same way as you do, because we need to do this with our family. We need to do this with our friends, and we need to do this with anyone we interact with. If you're not able to find common ground, it's also okay to walk away from that situation and be like, you know what? We're never going to get to a point where we both can agree to disagree, so maybe there's no point in even talking about it. That's something that you can do. Because here's another thing, though. When we can't find common ground, it can lead to feelings of isolation, anger, loneliness, and even paranoia. So it's important to remember that we don't have to agree on everything to accept and love each other. Because we should build connections and find ways to work together despite our differences. So we need to find a way to work despite being in a completely different situation than the other person, despite having different backgrounds. And I want to share this story too because it's important, especially because of my my marriage. Because before my wife and I could find common ground in our marriage, I had a lot of arguments with her. And that happened because we didn't see eye to eye all the time due to our cultural differences. I mean, she's white, I'm Mexican, I was raised poor, she wasn't. She did things that I didn't agree with. I did things that she didn't agree with. So a lot of the times that was creating conflict, which is not good for a relationship. But we figured out some ways to make it work, and maybe that can help you too. So the first thing that we did is that we tried to listen to what the other person was saying without immediately getting defensive or trying to argue back. And that is actually hard to do because once you start to get heated, you kind of don't want to listen to the other person. You just want to say what you want to say, get it off your chest. So what you have to do in this case, in order for you to work with your partner or whoever you are arguing with, so you can kind of like agree to disagree, you have to listen to them. You don't have to argue right away. You just have to listen, process the information that they're giving you, so you can try to find a way to find that common ground. That's pretty much what it is. The next thing that we did is to show some respect for the other person's opinion, even if you disagree with it. So even if you disagree with what your partner or the other person is saying, just understand that that's their opinion. It's nothing against you or anything like that. They're not attacking you, wherever. It may feel like they're attacking you, but maybe they're not. Maybe that's just the way that they talk, or that's just the way that they can describe it. So understand that. That's very important. And it's also essential to focus on what you have in common rather than fighting for just the differences. This is one thing that hurts relationships. We focus too much on the differences that we have with each other, and we don't focus on what we have in common. And when we do that, we're just gonna find more and more differences to fight for. So we have to focus on what we have in common and be like, you know what? I may disagree with this, whatever you're doing or saying, but I also agree with this. So that's kind of like what I'm talking about when it comes to finding the middle ground, that agree to disagree. There are things that I agree with. There are things that I disagree with. And the last thing that we did, that my wife and I learned, is that if things start to get too heated, it's totally fine to take a break and come back to the conversation later when everyone's calmer. That's one thing that we don't do a lot. I used to not do this. I used to get heated and it was like, let's fix the problem right now. Let's do this right now. I will start yelling. I know people that do that. They do it at work. They do it in their houses. They do it in the streets. Probably you have seen it. Probably you have that same problem. So believe me when I say this. I had to learn all of this. And it was so fucking hard. That's why we went to couples therapy too, to be able to learn this. To have like the referee in the middle, because like I said, I used to get too heated. Same thing with my wife. But learning all of this was so worth it because it has helped our relationship so much. We have been able to find common ground so we don't fight all the time, even if we disagree. And it has also helped me with people outside my marriage, like people at work, like with this supervisor, friends, coworkers. Like it has helped me create better connections with other people, even through the disagreements. So in conclusion, agreeing to disagree is a crucial skill to have in today's society because it allows us to have meaningful conversations and discussions without dividing ourselves further, which is extremely important right now. Because by listening to understand, respecting each other's opinions, focusing on common ground, and taking breaks if needed, we can find common ground and move forward together. We can build things that will benefit a lot of us. We can, be able to make change happen. I know it sounds hard and I know it sounds ridiculous, but it can be done. We just have to work together, but we have to find that common ground and we have to agree to disagree. Especially in relationships, marriages, work relationships, politics, all of that. We have to find that common ground. So that's what I wanted to share on today's episode. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the growth and the feedback. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The link is in the episode's description. And here are my final thoughts. There will be times when all you have to do is to stay quiet and listen to what the other party is saying so you can understand them and create a dialogue and have a great day.